Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
On /x/ no Innawoods thread. Let's change that.
Just type this up, hope you enjoy. I at least got a chill just remembering back and typing this shit. Pick related, it's the general area. Be poor Norwegian, enjoy hunting, fishing, and /out in general. Somehow acquiring crazy old Alaska Husky bro. Bike or hike with him every day. The dog wants to kill everything, except adult humans and female dogs. Way to smart and alpha for his own good, a real crafty sob. Runs away the split second he gets a chance. Been run over twice, killed mice, and even took down a roe deer once. Never lost a fight in his life. One time he ran away. He came back 8 days later, covered in blood and mud. But he always came back eventually. You get the idea. Now back to the story. Be out in the woods one late summer alone, near my friend's cabin, which I can use when I want. Wanting to get the lay of the land because planning to hunt there that fall. Using cabin as base camp, I went out daily, exploring, fishing trout, looking for deer trails and big birds called tiur. Bro dog is with me as always. One day I'm heading out, day 2 or 3. Long story short, dog manages to get loose, seeing him hauling ass after a deer. Here he go again. MP3 pack rucksack. Might as well make a trip now. Won't leave without bro dog anyway. Leave some food near the cabin, call job and family. Tell them I'll call before a week. Head out deeper than I've ever been. Spending days mostly exploring and just walking around. Sleeping in a tent when it's raining and reading books after dark. Spot lots of wildlife. Huge moose walks right by me one evening just as the sun sets. Feels good, man. JPG. About 5 or 6 morning out, I decided to head back to the cabin and look for dog. Figure I'll make it just before dark if I walk fast and leave all the gear. I'll come back for gear after a day or two. Pretty easy terrain to navigate, but somehow managed to get semi-lost. Figure I'll just follow the compass straight south-ish until I hit the road, which is near the cabin. Backtracking is for wusses. Head up a steep forested ridge if I can just hit the gravel before dark. Hit the top of the ridge and stop to have a look. The sun is setting now. Looking down the other side, there is a small, steep cliff, ravine which suddenly looks really familiar somehow. Reminds me of a place I've been with a friend a couple of years back. A bit freaked out now because it's still a long way to go if I'm right. Head down, no way back now. At the bottom I freeze in my tracks. I suddenly become super aware of everything around me. Something just feels wrong. It's dead silent, and my neck hairs are standing on end. I feel more scared than I've ever felt before, scared stiff. I look around carefully. On the top of the ridge I spotted something dark behind some trees. Looking at the strange shadow, I feel a presence like I'm being watched. Suddenly the shadow shifts, and I can see its huge size accompanied by something I can only describe as high-pitched clicking, screeching sounds. In my fear, I become aware of 2 red eyes and a creature that can only be described as a huge black bat. It then spread its wings and without flapping once, just floated straight up into the sky. Came to think of it later, it sounded annoyed that I disturbed it. As crazy as that might sound. My memory is a bit hazy after that. But I get to the other side of the ridge, and there was no one else but bro dog standing and waiting for me, calm and alpha as always. As I catch up to bro dog, he then heads south in the direction of the cabin, keeping mostly in sight until I hit the road. The next morning I went out of the cabin, feeling beat up but pretty good all things considered. Bro dog is laying on the grass outside like nothing happened, yawning and just giving me that stupid stare he used to give me. His face when...
B15, with a friend that lives in the same apartment complex. It's a deep summer night, very hot but clear. Around 10:45, there is a trail that goes through a forest that opens up to a man-made lake with ducks and stuff. The lake is about a mile from our complex, so it's a long walk. We had some fireworks and one of those hollow hanger racks to shoot them off like a bazooka. Just juvenile stuff. It's pitch black. The forest blocks any light from houses and such. Lots of stars because of the clear night. We walk up to the edge of the lake. It gets quiet. All the chirps and stuff just stop abruptly. My friend had a flashlight and waved it around, then used it to his face to do the spooky grin, making us laugh and continue to walk around the lake. I see this light on the other side of the lake. Must be someone else with a flashlight. My friend yells, "Hey!" real loud, and the light starts moving towards us. We look at each other going, "What the heck?" It starts moving over the water. My stomach drops and I grab his arm, pulling him backwards. Something ain't right. The world is still quiet, like it's on mute, and we start running away. We ran non-stop through the trail and forest, not stopping until we closed his apartment door and locked it. Not the best story, but weird shit stays with you even after 20 years. Matt, if you see this, I hope you're okay. I haven't seen you in 15 years.
I was 15 years old. I lived in a house surrounded by a large forest. I had a few neighbors. They had kids from 10 to 15 years old. One day, we all got together and decided to go for a long walk in the woods. After 2 or 3 hours of walking, we found a well. It was really creepy. One of my friends said he had once heard a story about a woman offing herself there. There's an entrance near the well that goes inside it, down below. Nope.jpg. One of my friends went inside and found a notebook, kind of a diary. We opened it and started to read it. It was the life story of a woman who was really depressed. Her children had been taken from her, that kind of stuff. We didn't read it all. It was really boring. We decided to see what the last page said. Right at the beginning of the page was written, "I died." We got scared but didn't really show it. One of us, the youngest, 10 years old, was scared to death and wanted to go home. We started to mess around with him, throwing rocks up in the air without him seeing and saying it was the ghost of the woman who off herself. Just stupid kid stuff. We started to look at the last page to see if we could find anything else in it. I started to get a weird feeling every time I looked at the page. My friends felt it too, like we were being watched. I got sick of it and ripped the page out of the diary, ripped it to pieces and threw it in the well. I threw the diary in it too. We started to walk home, all scared. No one wanted to talk about the diary. I arrived at my doorstep. Right before I put the key in the lock, I looked at the floor. There was a page of the diary with "I died" written on it. Nope.jpg. I wanted to keep the page to show it to my friends the next day, but at the same time, I didn't want to bring it inside the house. I ended up leaving it by my doorstep, where I found it. The next day, it wasn't there. I told my friends and none of them believed me except for the 10-year-old one.
Here's something I experienced 2 months ago in Iceland. Be there on vacation. Lots of outdoor activities. 4th day of the trip. Been hiking with my girlfriend. I wanted to camp outside overnight, but she didn't. She went back to the base camp. I stayed in my tent, collecting firewood and some berries and edible plants, roots and whatnot for the night and next morning. Been chopping the wood for about 10, maybe 15 minutes. Hear knocking noises from the upper hill. Look around, see nothing, continue my work. Few moments later, again knocking noises, this time faster and louder. Standing up to get a better look, see nothing again, continue chopping the wood. It knocks again, even faster and louder than before. I knock back at the same speed and loud enough. Suddenly the air feels thick, like there's some sort of presence. Here's something I can only describe as noises a great ape would make. I'm frozen on the spot and can't move at all. It's calling again, and again, and again, 4 times in total. I come back to my senses and reach for one of the bigger sticks. Hear a sudden rumble of loud footsteps moving away, faster than any animal I know of. Didn't return in the night. I GTFO'd early in the morning.
In the Army. Not enlisted, just mandatory service in our country in the woods all the time. We have these stoves in our tents to keep us warm throughout the night. 1 2-hour shifts through the night to keep the fire going. My turn. Groggy because it was a full day of running and crawling in full gear, about 40 kilograms of stuff, and only got like an hour of sleep. The air is really bad in the tent. 8 guys without a shower in ages, and the stove smoke inside the tent adds to that. Go outside the tent, grab my rifle which is filled with blanks. Walk around a bit to wake up from the grogginess. Hear branches snapping. Think it's someone from the other tents. They were about 50 meters away from ours. Ask if he wants to smoke a cigarette, growl, oh shit. Point my rifle somewhere in the darkness and walk backward to my tent. Get back to the tent, but too scared to turn my back to the woods, so I can't really get inside. Whisper if anyone's awake. No answer. I stand there for about 10 minutes, and after hearing nothing, I go inside. Sitting there and adding wood to the stove, branches snapping again. Really close. The tent is being pushed from the outside. Wake everyone up, nobody knows what is going on. We aren't allowed to bring loaded guns inside the tent, but I forgot about that when I came back. Tell everyone to cover their ears and fire a few blanks in hopes of scaring it away. It works. I can hear lots of branches snapping as it runs away. The radio guy calls in for higher-ups to come check things out. Fast forward to morning when the higher-ups actually bothered to move their asses. My face when it was a fucking bear. My face when I was less than a meter away from it. My face when we got live rounds for the rest of our training. Something they never give on ordinary in-the-woods training stuff. My face when they gave live rounds to the insane people too. I don't know which was scarier for the next few days. The bear or the knowledge of some Gomer piles having live rounds next to me.
Not super scary, but in college. Working with a friend on an engineering project. Make plans to work at his place one evening. Never been to his house before. Lives in a cabin in the woods a few miles from town, near some farmhouses. Has a wood stove for cooking and heat. No AC. He raises chickens for the eggs, and has the funniest stories about them. His driveway is too small, so I have to park across the road in a little path inlet, about 100 yards from the cabin. Nighttime. It's dark in those woods. I ask if he's had any scary stories from his time there. He says nothing's ever happened to him. I'm heading out to my car in total darkness. Suddenly it sounds like a pack of dogs barking like mad, just up the road. They're going crazy over something. I have to drive that way to get out of there, and I'm not even to my car yet. Tempted to just go back inside his house. Man up, get to my car, and drive out of there. Didn't see anything on my way out, but I was driving faster than I should have been, so I mostly was watching the road.
I was at my country house. I don't know what to call it in English, but it's known as a chakra here. My brother and I were chilling after a long day making concrete and stuff. We were building our own pool. It was about 2 a.m. My brother and I were playing video games and talking. I'm 18. He's 25. We heard rustling in the small woods near the main house. That's weird. It's not even windy, and it was hot as hell inside. Suddenly it was quiet. I mean, quiet, bro. The video game stopped emitting sounds, and the owls and wildlife outside went dead silent. My brother and I just stared at each other and looked around. Nope. Dad woke up and told my brother and me, who were really weirded out at the moment, to see why the damn pit bull was barking. What? There are no barks, Dad. The pit bull is sleeping outside. He insisted we go and see if the pit bull was okay. My brother and I headed out. He had a gun, and I had a machete. We went to where we heard the rustling earlier, figuring it would be the pit bull. Past the bush, there was a really big blackberry tree. We saw a figure doing something to the tree. We yelled a warning for it to get off the property or he would be shot. He stopped dead in place and began moving his head quite slowly to look at us. Shoot that thing. My brother fired the Winchester at him. He missed, even though he still insists he hit the figure clear in the chest. The figure was like a 5'3" man. The figure started to bolt really fast. It ran straight into the pool construction site. We ran after it but couldn't catch up. The thing was way faster than either of us. It jumped clear over the wall and seemed to stop atop a tree. We went inside and got a flashlight. I must add that we had forgotten because we were really in a hurry to get out because we loved the damn dog, and the full moon was illuminating quite well. We headed out to the small woods to examine the blackberry tree. We noticed then that the pit bull was still missing. The pit bull was unconscious but unhurt under the tree. Just to clarify, this dog really hates anything that is not my family. The tree had these weird marks on the bark, like a serpent coiled around itself with letters in its body, a small circle with some stuff drawn inside above it, and 2 smaller stars of David in a circle inside the circumference formed by the snake, and somehow there was a black leather belt nailed really high into the tree, like 12 feet high. We took the passed-out pit bull and headed inside, locking all the doors and staying real close to the gun. LOL, Dad was sleeping again. He asked about the gunshot. We told him the story. Dad saw the blackberry tree the next morning. We cut down the tree the next day, and to this day, I do not know what the hell happened. Boy, I hated this part. I get really nervous when I go around the stump of said tree. My cousin found a poisoned cat near the stump a month later, lol. Also, sorry for the bad grammar. As you can see, English is not my native tongue.
Innawoods. My best friend and I live in a small town. Her house is way up this hill that's blanketed in woods, and her property is gorgeous and spacious. One night 5 or 6 years back, she came home from work, somewhere between 11 p.m. midnight, and stopped her car and heard a loud, strange noise outside. When she exited her car, it was far too dark to see, but she said something was making a horrifying mechanical sound up above her. She tried to look, but it was too dark to see anything. She estimated it to be hovering above the trees surrounding her home and property. She hasn't been able to really define exactly what it sounded like. She constantly says that it sounded mechanical and somehow organic at the same time, and she's never heard anything like it before or since. It scared the living hell out of her, and she rushed inside and locked the door. I had several missed calls that night while it was happening to her, and I still kick myself for sleeping through it. I've tried to show her alleged UFO sounds, caught on tape, and she always shakes her head. I'm hoping someday she can recognize it and share it with me.
When I was younger, definitely more than 10 years ago, I was hiking along the Czech-German border. I was just enjoying the fact that there are no border controls and was walking through the forest without sticking to any path. It's not that easy to get lost there, even though the Czech side is somewhat sparsely inhabited. Somewhere, I just stumbled and nearly fell. I looked around and found some stairs, just 2 stairs sticking out of the ground. I first thought that someone had dumped rubble from a demolished building there, but hardly a step further, I found a deep, open well. If the stairs hadn't caught me, I would have fallen into it. I went on and noticed shallow walls covered by dirt and leaves everywhere between the trees. I found an inkwell on the ground and later a whole stone doorframe that was completely sunken into the ground. I counted at least 10 buildings. Some beer cellars remained intact altogether. Back then, I was creeped out as hell when I found several bones in one of them, but I think they were from a pig. Nothing was around this place. No roads, no paths, just forest and swamps. It's hard to find such a remote place in either Germany or the Czech Republic. I couldn't explain it back then, but now I'm sure I just found one of the German villages in Czech territories that were demolished after World War II. Nothing paranormal, but it was eerie.
That's pretty cool, but I hope you told someone about it so no one else fell in there and got hurt.
Yes, I did. I even went back there after I found out that a friend's grandfather had lived there. He wanted to show me around, but the way was too difficult. Instead, he showed me the graveyard a couple of kilometers away. Some people have started restoring it, as most of the stones were destroyed.
In the forest just a couple of days ago with a buddy. Driving around old logging trails. Huge rut in the trail. Buddy wants to get out and look at it. Deep and wide enough to flex the frame and suspension until the tires hit the inside of the wheel wells. Amusing. Buddy lights a cigarette and walks around, stretching his legs. There's a grassy clearing off to the left side of the trail, with a very weathered hunting blind at the edge of the tree line. I go over to look at it. Notice that there is actually another trail that runs through this opening and snakes out of it in another direction. Walk down to inspect it since the hunting blind is near it, and I wanted to check that out too. Notice something moving inside the blind. See the top of a man's head hunched down. Shout over to my buddy that the trail is too overgrown to drive down. Walk back to the Jeep with haste. Tell him that someone is in the blind. He doesn't believe me. I look back over to the blind and can now clearly see a dark figure in full view of the window staring at me. Tell my buddy that I'm not screwing around and that there is a guy staring at us. He can't see the figure. Seriously fucking weird. Rest of the day was normal though.
Maybe not a true Innawoods story. B16. Camping with my family. Superfun.jpg. Go swimming, hiking, random camping stuff. Fast forward. Prepare for a read. We eat, we play cards, we light a fire, and we go to sleep one by one. I was always a nocturnal kid, so my dad told me put out the fire before you go to bed before entering his tent. I'm staring into the fire and thinking about random shit when I have to pee. I step away and start taking a leak when I hear footsteps coming behind me. They stop just about where the campfire is. I finish my leak and see a kid a bit older than me, probably 17 or 18, and we start talking. We play guessing games, trying to figure out stuff about each other. Your favorite color has to be blue. That kind of shit. My dad comes out of the tent to go to the bathroom and asks me who I'm talking to. Ghostly kid looks at me, puts his finger to his lips, gives me a loud shh. I pass out. Wake up the next day at home. My parents said I suffered from a really bad fever, and they were calling the doctor when I woke up.
There's not much to the story, but it's very real and I have no explanation. Be up at the cabin with a friend, cousin, sister, and her friend, sitting out by the campfire around 10 p.m., pitch black, talking about spooky things that happened up there before, general storytelling and nonsense. Suddenly a bright flash in the woods about 75 yards away. Think camera flash, but brighter. This land is isolated for miles in any direction, no road for a mile. This was in the woods, nothing around it. And before trail cam, there were none on our property. Everyone's kind of freaked out, but my friend and I went to examine because we're the oldest, and we needed to know what it was. Find nothing. No answers, no theories, nothing. I posted this a few times on /out/, but people just say swamp gas or lightning. This is frustrating when you know that it wasn't a hiker, wasn't gas, etc.
I'm 33 now, but when I was 14, I was gold mining with my uncle in northern central California. We were way in the middle of the woods. This was long before trail cams, it was not a swampy land. But we both saw a bright white light off in the woods. It traveled a little. Maybe 200 feet from our camp in a small clearing, moved in an up-down motion for just less than a second and vanished. It made no noise. It was bright as hell, but I don't recall it illuminating the area. We still joke about it from time to time, but honestly, no clue WTF it was.
I'll post another before sleeping. Before wheeling around midnight with the same group of people. Different time altogether. Double riding, we had 3 ATVs out at the time. Get to the swamp, which is like 5 miles from the cabin through the woods on a narrow trail. Get to this bridge that goes over a small creek to get to the swamp area. Note, the swamp is a spooky destination because no one wants to go, and that is where most of the bear sightings are, and general fear of the woods at night. There is a log in front of the bridge, so I got off in the light of the 2 trailing ATVs, shining through the swamp fog. I remember it being cold, so I was rushing to get the log off so we could continue. On the other side of the bridge, the trail starts to end and it's full of evergreen saplings and we need to turn around, which can be difficult to coordinate. In this time, maybe 5 minutes elapse, and we get back to the bridge. My stomach drops, hair raises on my arms. The log is right back in front of the bridge and the kids are absolutely losing it. Pretty sure my cousin, who is now a Marine a few years later, was crying. Running on pure adrenaline, I ran across the bridge and through the log. It's about 8 feet long but dead, so it probably weighed about 50 pounds. That extreme adrenaline that you got as a kid running up the stairs from the basement, but times 1,000. Electricity through my entire body, almost feeling faint. We drove out of there as fast as we could. Literally had open wounds from my cousin clenching my shoulders on the back of the ATV. This story hardly comes up because it's the most real, spooky experience up there, and the mood always dies when we bring it up. I four-wheel back there alone in the day sometimes, and it just feels so off. I have a pic I took of 5 turkey vultures circling the large clearing right before the swamp from a year or so after. Pic related, the swamp in day. Didn't have enough room to post about the picture. This is the swamp taken from the bridge in the daytime. Found it in an old album on my hard drive. Here's a pic of the trail to get there with my dog.
My cousins own a cabin in some woodland in central Florida, and sometimes I camp out there with them. Sometimes we play Manhunt. Some poor bastard draws the short straw and has 1 hour to hide in the woods. Then, Everyone else goes after him with paintball guns with limited ammo. If he survives 5 hours in the woods, he wins. If the group catches him, they shoot. He gets to choose the next prey as compensation. At our latest get-together, I was chosen as the first prey. Awshit.jpg. My cousins are all redneck hunters. I'm the only guy there who can't differentiate a duck call from a deer call. They give me my hour head start, jog out Innawoods for 45 minutes, then climb a tree. We start the manhunt around 6 so that there's some light towards the start and decent darkness by the end. But everyone gets flashlights, even me. The sun starts to set. As it starts to get dark, I hear rustling and scrunch up in the tree. I glance down and can barely make out a humanoid silhouette. Assume it's one of the cousins and remain hidden. That's when shit got weird. It walked in circles for a little while, leaving my view but always returning. After a few repeats of this, I realized it wasn't one of my cousins. It barely even seemed sentient. Its head darted to and fro like a frightened deer. It never looked up. And the more my eyes adjusted and the more attention I paid, the more I realized it's built wrong. It's lanky and wiry and thin and bent in weird places. After its 5th circle, I hear it. It's chittering to itself. It's like teeth clicking together in animalistic grunts, resolved to shine light at the creature upon its next circle. Worst case scenario, I scream for my cousins, hide in the tree, and hope. I never get the chance. As it circles around again, I hear an audible pop from a paintball gun, a horrible screech, like a cross between a parrot and a goat, and then one of my cousins yelling. I drop out of the tree and run in that direction because I am a stupid person. I find my youngest cousin, Darren, sprawled out on the ground, pissing himself. I run up and call his name. He raises his gun and shoots me dead in the chest. "Oh shit," he says, like he wouldn't have done that anyway if he hadn't ran into the goddamned hide behind. He helps himself up, then me up. We quickly meet up with the rest of the group, and Darren finally elects to explain what happened. He says he was sneaking up behind a tree he thought I was in when he saw something move out of the corner of his eye. He acted on instinct, turned and fired at it. The paintball hit, and the thing fucking wailed in shock. He screamed and raised his flashlight. He saw long, spindly legs and 2 enormous frog or doe eyes. Then the thing unfolded. I think he meant unfurled, but I don't know. He says the thing's body unrolled like a bunch of posters and then it just wasn't there anymore. I backed up his story, saying I saw it too, but the other cousins just laugh at us and call us liars. That was about 14 months ago. He still brings it up every time we see each other. No one ever believes us. I don't really blame them.
Hide-behinds are the best nightmare fuel. I believe in these because anyone who has felt that feeling in the woods can relate. Hiking in a wilderness area, middle of the day, so not scary. Go to cross a dry, rocky riverbed, halfway across hear a throat-clearing sound. Turn around, nothing is there. Continue crossing the riverbed and hear what sounds like pebbles clacking together. Stop and look for hikers. Nothing still, almost across the riverbed. The best I can describe what happened next is like being buzzed by a bird that you're too close to its nest. Not a bird, I guarantee you that. Birds are not 6 foot tall. Whatever it was, whooshed behind me like a black and brown blur. I could feel the wind of it on my neck and head, spin around, no bird. Okay, no more games, leave me alone or stop hiding. Wait for a few minutes, nothing happens. Okay then, keep hiking, a few hundred yards down the trail. Hear the throat-clearing sound again. As I slowly and carefully turn around, I see a 3-foot-tall mass dart across the trail. I don't just see it. I heard it scurrying, and it kicked up dust as it ran across the trail. Actually, I fell backwards because I'm so scared. Scramble to my feet, swearing and power hike my ass out of the canyon. Hide-behinds are scary as shit.
Be me, 2 years ago. As always, hanging in the woods. It's near home, so I like to go there whenever I can. I'm alone this time. Bad-idea.jpg night comes, but there's still a bit of light. Hear something in the distance. Seems like laughter. I'm fucking creeped out. Stay quiet. The sound seems to be getting closer. Suddenly stops. Try not to be scared. I need to go home. Start walking. Somewhere near the path, I can hear something. Sounds like a fox screaming. See light. WTF for a moment. Think it's a forest fire. I'm stupid, so I decided to check it out from a distance. It's already dark by now. Feel this awful stench, something like burning meat. As I get closer, I see this weird thing. It doesn't seem to notice me, so I hide close to a tree. It is tall and has weird skin. Looks like it doesn't belong to its body, all saggy. It also has weird limbs. It's coming closer. It looks straight at me. Oh shit, .webm. I panicked. It was so close I ended up hitting it with a stick. It made a loud noise. See other creatures coming from where this one came from. What the fuck do I do now? Okay, there's no other way out now. I can't run. I quickly get inside the creature's body. The other creatures don't seem to notice it, grab me by my pulse and pull me in the direction of the light. They start making these weird noises. I just try to copy them. I'm scared they will notice and kill me. Just play it off as one of them. I'm still trying to figure out a way to go back home. Just play it off as one of them. I'm still trying to figure out a way to go back home.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.